Communication may be the most important tool or skill that we have in life. We begin to communicate as infants the moment we come into this world. And over our lifetime, we develop and hone our communication skills. Communication can be positive, it can be negative, it can be clear, it can be confusing, it can be one-way communication, or it can be back and forth between two people or multiple people. It can be other than verbal communication. It can be facial expressions. It can be body language. It can be gestures. And one of the most important aspects of communication that we sometimes forget is listening. Communication is most effective when we treat each other with dignity and respect. And when we're having a conversation or discussion, we attack the issue, but we don't attack the person. We don't attack the people who are actually exchanging the idea and expressing an opinion. Poor communication can lead to conflict, just like we talked about. It's most effective when you treat people with dignity and respect, and when you don't, it's going to lead to conflict. And communication, at the end of the day, is a critical leadership skill. Now, like the confusing quotation on this chart, it illustrates how challenging communication can be. The quotation says, "You heard what you thought I said, but what you heard is not what I meant to say." Now, what does all that convoluted stuff mean? Essentially, you may have come into this conversation and you may have had a preconceived notion about what I was going to say, and you had an opinion, and so maybe you weren't listening. And so maybe what you heard is what you thought I was going to say, but not what I really said. Now, on the other side of that equation, I may not have been clear in the point that I was delivering. In my mind, it may have been clear to me, but maybe what you heard and maybe what I said conveyed an idea that I didn't intend to convey. So you can see that communication is a really, really critical skill in our day-to-day activities, and it's even more important for leaders. Hello, everybody. This is David Mitchell, and welcome again to the November edition of the Mayor's Monthly Video. So the purpose of these monthly videos is to communicate, which is why I started out with a little dissertation about what communication is and how important it is. Ideally, the goal is for me to hear from you via our city website, direct emails. People call me on the phone. Sometimes I bump into them on the street. And you have an issue, you have a question, you have a concern that you want to discuss with me. And so I like to take that information and, if I can, respond directly to you. On the website, people have the opportunity, if they want to ask a question or express a concern anonymously. And so I can't really respond directly. But then I take that information, and my goal is to share it with everyone else who would see it on this video. The idea is to not identify the person in the video who asked the question, but merely to express the question or the issue or concern and provide as straightforward a response as I possibly can and share that on the video. So I didn't get any questions in November on our website. So what I wanted to do is share with you what's been going on. And so I want to give you an update on what happened at the beginning of this month of November, and then at the end give you a little review of fiscal year 2023 for Columbiana. So on the 7th, which was early last week from the time this video is being filmed, I attended a celebration of 10 years of Main Street, Alabama. Now, most of you know that Columbiana is a Main Street community, so I wanted to share with you that we had representatives from Main Street communities all across Alabama, the state Main Street organization. We had representatives from Main Street America there, and it was really great to talk to the various Main Street communities and the officials from Main Street America, Main Street Alabama, understand some of the challenges that they've been facing, maybe some of the ideas and good things that they're doing, But the most important thing that I learned is that since in the past 10 years, since Main Street Alabama has been in effect here, it has generated over $1 billion of economic impact for the state of Alabama. Those numbers were presented by a representative from Main Street America who had extracted that data from various federal government and state of Alabama sources. So really good to know that Main Street Alabama is having a positive impact on the state. In our community, I recently, as you may or may not know, Main Street Alabama is involved in a lot of activities that go on around town, usually in collaboration with the city. And so give you an example, one of our businesses on Main Street indicated that this past summer, that the revenues that they generated in the 3 months of the summer uh, equaled the highest revenues that they had achieved in any year over the past 3 years. And the reason were the events all summer long that were a collaboration between the city and Main Street, the Music on Main, the farmers market all summer long. So those are the types of things that help our community and help the businesses in our community. After that, on the 8th through the 10th, I attended the Municipal Leadership Institute, which is sponsored and hosted by the Alabama League of Municipalities. And as the name would imply, it's all about developing municipal leadership and training, but also recognizing municipal leaders who have and municipalities who have achieved certain goals and objectives. So there's a ceremony to recognize ACE communities, Alabama Communities of Excellence. There is a ceremony to recognize graduates of the Economic Development Academy, which Columbiana participated in 2022. There are ceremonies to represent certified municipal officials. There's 3 levels of that. There's the basic, there's the advanced, and there's the emeritus. I was honored to receive the Advanced Certified Municipal Official Award at this event. So it's a great opportunity not only to learn, but also to network with representatives from municipalities all over the state. At this Municipal Leadership Institute, we had 200 representatives from mayors and city councils all across the state of Alabama. And it's actually was some of the best training that I've participated in since I've been going to these things. Now, so what's the importance of all that learning? Well, John Kennedy said that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. And others have said that a leader can't lead without knowledge and a desire to learn, and they must continue to learn in order to maintain a position of leadership. And as I said, when you get into the position of mayor or city council member, Alabama is what's referred to as a Dillon Rule state, which basically means that municipalities don't have any authority other than what the state legislature gives us. And as a result of that, and these laws are changing and being amended constantly, you constantly have to stay abreast of what's going on to understand what you can and can't do in a municipality in Alabama. Then there's the, once again, just like at the Main Street function, there's the networking and the communication with all of the members of the League of Municipalities. There's state representatives there. There are mayors and city council members from municipalities all over the state of Alabama. And it's extremely important to share ideas and learn from the things that they're doing. So after the League of Municipalities function, I just wanted to go ahead and tell you a little bit about what's been going on in Columbiana. And fiscal year 2023 ended in September. So I wanted to share a few things that I think make for a positive story for Columbiana. Now, first, tell you a little bit about Columbiana. For those who didn't know, our municipal limits, the area is about 18 square miles, and that is approximately 2% of Shelby County. Now, interestingly enough, our population is also about 2% of Shelby County, so we're not taking up any more room than we should be taking up in the county. We've got about 32 miles of improved streets and roads in the city limits of Columbiana. Now, that doesn't include private roads, that doesn't include unimproved roads, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a linear length, about 32 miles. 18 miles of that are city maintained and controlled by the city. About 9 miles of that are controlled and maintained by the county, and 5 miles are controlled and maintained by the state. And over the past 3 years, we have resurfaced 34% of those roads. Now, our goal is to try to come up with a plan of when we need to be able to resurface roads. And if under normal wear and tear, if these roads are resurfaced properly, that we should be able to get about 15 years of life out of them and not have to resurface them again for 15 years. So at the rate that we're going, it would continue at this rate with our plan. This would allow us to resurface all the roads in about 12 years. As residential communities expand in the city of Columbiana, or if we annex more property, then the city will take on more responsibility for road maintenance. And so it's good that if we're planning on 15-year service life for a road, that we could try to get them all resurfaced, have a plan to at least get them resurfaced over a period of 12 years. So in 2023, we finished the year with a general fund surplus of about 3.6 months of operating expenses. Now, what does that mean? That's basically a surplus. The general fund is basically unrestricted funds that we could spend on anything. And the Organization of Government Finance Officers, I think it's called the Government Finance Officers Association, has suggested that municipalities ought to maintain a minimum of 2 months of a surplus of general fund operating expenses. Some of the bigger cities in the nation that have bigger financial problems and whatnot don't have any surplus whatsoever. Some cities and some proponents say, well, it'd be nice if you could have 6 months. We just don't have the luxury with our budget in Columbiana to maintain that. So we're going to always shoot for the minimum of 2, try to grow it where it's always 3, but we finished 2023 with 3.6 months surplus in operating expenses. The other good news story is that from 21 to 23, our cumulative sales tax revenue over that period increased 33.7%. So that's simply saying that from the sales tax revenue that we had in 2021, the difference in 2023 was 33.7% above that. Now, interestingly enough, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the cumulative consumer price index over that period was 13.1%. So basically, we're keeping our head above water as far as inflation is concerned, and think that's a good news. I think another good news story for the city is that over that 3-year period, 21 to 23, we had an increase in business license revenue of 72.2%. So that basically means that, hey, things are going well, businesses are growing, businesses are expanding in the city, and that's good for the city. The 31.2% CAGR, that stands for compound annual growth rate. So that's simply a different way of looking at that 72.2%. Each year, 31.2%, and then 31.2% on top of that the next year. Building permits in Columbiana increased 11% during that 3-year period. Now, that's not nearly as much as the business license revenue, or not as much as the sales tax revenue, but by comparison, in the state of Alabama over that same period, building permits decreased 7.2%. You can see the little acronym FRED there. That's from the Federal Reserve Economic Data, which is where I got that data. So that's pretty much it for November. Like I said, it's all about communication. My goal is to communicate with you, but I want to hear from you. So go to the website, send me an email. If you see me on the street, stop me, give us a phone call. Keep those cards and letters coming in, and we'll see you in December.